Hello and welcome to Down to the Tyre. Today I'm joined by a fellow content creator on TikTok. You may know her as the McLaren Defender. It's Caroline. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Oh my gosh. I have to say, I was really excited to hear what your intro would be because I heard the intros for like the other creators and I don't know, it got me hype. But yeah.
I always love writing the intros. I find it so fun. And obviously I said the McLaren Defender. Anyone who hasn't seen your TikTok is probably really confused now.
Yes.
But that's your TikTok username. Where did that come from?
Honestly, I really have no clue. I have such a hard time making usernames for myself. Like no matter what account it's been on, like it's usually just my name, but I didn't really want to put my name in my username. And so I was like, okay, I like McLaren. I didn't want to put like McLaren content consumer or something. I know I just wanted something with like the ER at the end, just because I thought it was kind of funny. And
Hmm.
then I was just like, all right, I doubt anyone has McLaren Defender, so I'll just try that. And shockingly enough, no one had that. So I was like, all right, that's me, I guess. But I am kind of thinking of changing my username, I do have to say. Um, which probably would just be to my name, but
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
Do you want to know how I came up with the name of this podcast?
How?
It was ChatGPT, and I'm not proud to admit
I
it.
was gonna guess. I was gonna guess. No, I love ChatGPT. I use it all the time to brainstorm. Like it is the best. I'll literally be like, because I'll think of content and then I'll be like, okay, how should I phrase this for, this specific video? And it'll give me some high points and I'm like, oh wait, that's really good. So no, I love ChatGPT. Don't be ashamed.
It's really good. I was a magazine journalist in my old job, and it's really good at coming up with headlines for things I
Yeah.
found, or like puns. Even though sometimes its puns are so unfunny, but
Yeah.
sometimes the unfunny puns make you come up with funny ones. So it kind of
Yeah.
helps in a way. But
It's
anyway.
a great, I love using it as a brainstorming tool. Like it's so nice. Yeah.
Yes, when it's used correctly, love your
Yes.
chat GPT. So
Exactly.
firstly, I want to go back to the start of you being on TikTok. Obviously, you set your account up, you did your username. How did you firstly, how did you get into F1 in the first place? And then how did that turn into, okay, I'm gonna make content about it on TikTok?
Okay. So I'll start with how I got into F1. Basically, I okay, to make a long story short, I just watched Drive to Survive with my parents. Me and my sister were at home and we were looking at shows to watch because we always have like movie night with my family and stuff. And we saw that and we were like, wait, that's because it was like the trailer. So it was probably March of last year. So this is like my 1 year with F1, which is kind of crazy. But so I watched that and I was like immediately hooked. And it's so funny because you can see the progress of my like obsession with F1 through my Snapchat story, which I love getting my highlights and just seeing like the picture of Drive to Survive. And it's like March 11th, it'll be like season 1, episode 9. And then like March 13th, it'll be like season 4, episode 9. And it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, so Drive to Survive was my intro, which I know some people hate on, but it gave me a good overview of like names and like what the point of the racing is. Because before I got into it, I thought, sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but I thought that races, like it was one and done. I didn't know that there was points in a championship. And so I remember I was watching that and that gave me a good overview. But I forgot what your other question was because I was going so deep.
That's okay. It was what made you decide to start doing TikTok content about it after you got into it.
Okay. So my TikTok, so I got into F1 probably March 20, was it 22? Yeah, whatever, March last year, 2023. And by October was when I made my account. So it had been kind of a while. And I kind of waited until there was literally like 3 races left of the season to make my TikTok, which is like, okay, good decision, Caroline. But so I made the TikTok because I was in sophomore year of college. I'm still a sophomore, but it was like my first semester of sophomore year and I was like a biomed major, whatever. I have not had the best experience with college, like just enjoyment wise, hasn't been for me. And I was like, I just need something to focus on and do because I really didn't like my major. And I was like, I want to look forward to doing something. And I really liked watching F1, but none of my friends are into it like at all. And I kept posting about it in my story, and I was like, okay, no one's sliding up. I get the message. I'm just gonna make an account. So that was really what spurred me to make an F1 TikTok. I was just like, I need something to do, and I like F1. So yeah.
Did you find it daunting at first posting on TikTok? Because obviously, like, I feel like with a lot of other social media, it's very based on the people who follow you, see what you post, apart from Twitter or X, I suppose. But that's more like words, rather. You're not like putting yourself out there
Mhm.
as much. Whereas on TikTok, you're very much putting yourself out there, and literally, like, overnight, like, millions of people can see you. Did you find that scary?
I did because I just posting publicly, it is really scary. Like people kind of underestimate, I feel like, how scary it can be to like have a public TikTok and especially my biggest fear, the freaking screenshots and then people put you on Twitter and I'm like, no, no. But what I did is because I love making videos. I've had a private TikTok account since it was Musically, like since 2016. So I love making videos. And I was like, my friends aren't liking them, so other people are gonna like them. I did block everyone I knew when I started. My friends still don't know that I have this account, to be honest. And not that they would judge me, but it just helps me feel like I can just do whatever I want and it's fine. So they would support it, but you know, I don't know. That's just how I went about it. But it definitely was scary posting publicly. Yeah, for sure.
I fully get that. I've never, like, you know how you can connect it to like your phone number and stuff.
Oh,
I've never,
never,
never done that. Like,
never.
it brings up all your contacts and stuff, and then it brings you up to other people's contacts, and that
Yeah.
freaks me.
Yeah. The worst part too is when you realize that if one of your friends clicks connect contacts, that's gonna bring you up. And I'm like, nah. So yeah, I just blocked people and was like, okay, I just want to have the freedom to feel this out and make flops and make whatever, without feeling because I know they wouldn't judge me, but I would get in my head about other people seeing it. So that helped a lot. But yeah, I never connect the contacts ever, ever, ever.
Yeah, I do not blame you there. And obviously, a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people on TikTok are very much, they even have it in their bios that they're kind of aspiring to work in F1 one day. When you started your TikTok account, or even now, is that your goal with it, or are you just doing it as a hobby, doing it for fun?
So that's something I'm still kind of figuring out, I guess. When I first started it, I really was like, oh, it would be so great to like, have a career or something come from this, whatever. But right now it's kind of more of a hobby, I'd say, just so that there's less pressure on myself. If something comes out of it, that would be awesome. Like that would be awesome and I would, take people up on that immediately. But it's not like a goal of mine. However, I do try really hard to be mindful of the things I post, just in case there are people, within F1 or motorsport or whatever, seeing my stuff. So it doesn't, I don't want to eliminate any chances or people see my content and be like, yeah, this girl is weird. She would never be coworkers with these people because of the things she said about them. Like, I try to post with that in mind? I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, absolutely does. I had this conversation, me and Lizzie Lemon, who was my first episode of season 2 of the podcast. We
Mhm.
spoke about that quite a lot, about how there are a lot of people who maybe don't realize that some of the things they post maybe wouldn't make a good
So,
impression on future employment opportunities. I was actually speaking to Mimi as well about this
yes.
literally
Oh,
the
I
other
love her.
day. I love her
Yeah.
as well, so shout out Mimi because it was on DM, but we were chatting
Yeah.
about it. I'm sure she won't mind me saying, but like just about how whether doing content is actually good for your career or not. And I genuinely think it's just what you post.
It is, yeah, it's definitely what you post because like yeah. I just I try to post and think of it as like would I be comfortable if this person like saw what I'm posting about them even if it's a meme because I love posting like funny videos like memes and like stuff like that. Um and so even when I'm like kind of making a jab at them in a way, I try to make sure that it's like okay, that was really mild. Like their friend would make that joke? So that's how I try to think of it. But yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like your content, you're genuinely like one of the funniest people on TikTok, I think. And I don't like my content's very like informative, very like, here's the info, I'm giving it to you because I don't know how to be funny in TikToks. But you are so
Oh,
funny. How do you feel like I guess like has it become easier to get your sense of humor and your personality across in your TikToks as time's gone on?
I think so for sure. And also the time it takes to make a video has gotten significantly. Actually, it's gotten shorter, but then also I'm kind of trying to switch it up right now and like use my camera and stuff like that. So that's taking a while, but it's because I'm trying something new. So like all the content I was making, it started taking way less time to put that together and then also feel comfortable with what part of me I'm highlighting for the TikTok, you know? Um, but then there are certain things where like there'll be something I want to make a joke about, or I'm very sarcastic, but the way it comes across if I were to post something about that seems so snarky. So that's kind of just like a part of my humor where I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna put that away and I'll show, the other parts on TikTok. So I'm also very specific about what parts of my humor, I like. I'm like, okay, I'm okay if this stays on the internet forever, you know? But yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's quite funny because obviously I'm obviously British, you're American, and I feel like sarcasm is often viewed as a very British type of humor.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting to hear you say that you're quite sarcastic as American. Obviously, it's such a stereotype that like British people are sarcastic, but do you feel like obviously if you post something, do you feel like the British fans or the European fans versus the American fans kind of desire different type of content just from sport in general, I guess?
Ooh. See, I've never even thought about that. So I guess I don't really think about that when I'm posting. But yeah, no, I haven't really thought about that before. All I know is that if I post something, like I've posted things where I've been a little bit more sarcastic, which is kind of more my humor like in real life, like when I'm talking with people and stuff, and someone has literally commented, "You're annoying." And so I private that real quick. I was like, okay, I'm not I'll keep this shut down. But yeah, no, nothing specifically from like, oh, I feel like, this hit the American audience
Mhm.
versus, oh, this hit the UK audience, I haven't noticed that before, but
Yeah, that's really interesting. I always feel like with the comments on TikTok, TikTok's again a really difficult one in the sense that, as I said, like obviously your content is seen by complete strangers very,
yeah.
very easily. And sometimes the comments are not so friendly. I'll put it that way. Do
Yeah.
you struggle with that? Like even like if before you get the comments, do you worry about getting them, or when you do get them, do you kind of struggle, or do you not get them very often?
So luckily I don't get like that's probably been like one of the only ones where someone's like hated on me specifically, been like, you are annoying. If someone says something like correcting me, even in a rude way, I'm like, okay, whatever. Like I don't really care. But of course, it always does hurt if someone's like commenting and saying something mean about you specifically, and it's like, oh. But I don't really worry about it before posting. Um, but again, it's like I do post very intentionally, so maybe that's part of like the process of trying to post intentionally is kind of subconsciously having that in mind, where I'm like, oh, I don't want to get a bad comment from this. But yeah, luckily. Oh my gosh. I'm in a group chat with a couple other creators and they get some terrible, terrible comments. And I'm like, "Oh, I got lucky somehow because people in my comment section are generally pretty nice." But yeah.
Yeah, I always feel the same about mine. Like for the most part, mine are nice. And like
Yeah.
people do tell me things like, oh, you're overhyping Andrea Kimi Antonelli and stuff like that, but like nothing, no
Oh
serious
God.
hate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Not the Key Antonelli overhype. I can't with that type of comment. Yeah.
I know, like sometimes I feel like I just say, I know what I'm talking about.
No, right? Yeah.
Like obviously F2 is something we said we really wanted to talk about in this episode. And you, speaking of like your content evolving, you very much you speak about F2 a lot more now than you did at the start. How's your journey kind of been from going from being an F1 fan in a
Mhm.
year's time as well? I feel like that's quite impressive because I feel like it took me a couple of years to start delving into F2, but you were straight on it. How did that kind of come about?
So I was actually trying to think because I figured that we'd talk about F2 and I was like, when in the world did I get into F2? I really have no clue. Like, obviously, I guess it was probably around more like October time. Oh, you know what it was? I think it was because I was watching Prima's YouTube and their challenges are so funny. And then I was immediately like, all right, I need Fred Vesti to win this championship. And so that's, I think, what got me invested. And also, I'm following a ton of people within motorsport on Instagram. Like once I got into F1, it was like follow like anyone. And so just seeing their names and then seeing like the F2 account post like the championship clips and stuff like that, I was like, wait, this looks really good. So, but yeah, I'm trying to even like I'm really following like this F2 season because I obviously just caught the end of the last season and I'm gonna try to make more content about it because I really like I wish that like my friends or like the people that follow me like liked F2 because it is so good. Yeah.
Do you ever feel frustrated that there's a lot of, because I definitely feel like this, so I'm curious if you do as well. There's quite a few people who complain about F1 not being the most entertaining of championship fights,
Yeah.
which to be honest, I don't think it ever really has been apart from 2021, but that's a different topic. But do you ever get frustrated with F1 fans saying that F1's boring, but then they don't watch F2 and they don't watch other series? Because I'd love to just introduce every single person who follows me to F2 directly.
Oh, sorry. The thing that gets me when people are like, F1 is so boring, I'm like, no one is making you watch it. Like, I don't know if maybe it's kind of like they're already like too personally invested in the drivers and stuff that they just want to see who come. But then it's also like, who's coming out on top. So, yeah, I don't know. But I do wish I'm like, if a championship fight is what you want, yeah, F2 is so good. Literally, like, what I think in the last couple rounds, there's been like 3 different winners or something for 4 events that happened, right? And then there's like lap one or turn one is always like lap one of F2 race, there's going to be a safety car by the end of it. Like there's just always so much happening. Ugh. Yeah, I do. If people are complaining about F1 but they love motorsport, I they need to be redirected to the other series because there is other great stuff out there. So yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, you're right. There has been 3 winners so far. Zane Maloney won both
Yes.
races in Bahrain. Then Dennis Hauger, even though he only won it because Vachon got disqualified, but we'll give the win to Dennis
Poor
Hauger.
dude.
And then Enzo Fittipaldi. So of those drivers or of anyone else on the grid, who has impressed you in F2 so far this year? We've
Ooh,
only had 2 rounds at the time of
yes.
this, but still.
Okay, well, first off, another thing I learned about F2, I didn't realize it was such a big deal if the same person won the sprint and the feature. But I guess that makes sense because, obviously, if they were pole, then they're starting 10th, so it's like they have to fight more, which is like super impressive. But I didn't realize it like hadn't been done a lot. So when that happened, I was like, oh, good job, Zane Maloney. And then the commentator kept saying that, and I was like, oh, okay, he's got it. So yeah, no, he was really impressive. Oh my gosh, watching Enzo's win, I was so emotional. I was like, oh my God, because I have followed him and I think his brother's Pietro, right? Because what was it? I watched one of the first post-race shows I watched. Pietro was the guy who they were doing it with, and I was like, this dude has such a nice personality. Like he seemed like a genuinely nice dude. So I started following them, and Enzo, I feel like has had a lot of chances, but things have gone wrong. And so then when he won, I was like, oh. And then him dedicating it to his uncle, I think was who he dedicated it to. Yeah. But no, the thing is, I root for so many people in F2 because it helps that they're going towards the greater goal, of F1. And it's like, why would you not want to root for them in their career? But as like for specific drivers, oh my God, there's probably like 8. There's so many. I do like Zane Maloney, Enzo, Ollie Behrman, Kimi Antonelli, of course. Who else? Pepe Marti. I also root for. I like both of the Red Bull Juniors. Him and Isaac Hajar, right? Who else? But then I also like Gabby Bortoleto. There's like literally I could just list all of them. Yeah, those are the ones who are coming to my head though. Yeah.
Too good. We love you.
I do. I do. I'm literally rooting for all of them. Anytime any of them win, I'm like, oh, you deserve it so much.
Honestly, and you mentioned Ollie Behrman there. I've got to ask, he made his F1 debut. Were you impressed by him there?
Yes, absolutely. I was
There's only
I
one
was
right answer for that.
I was impressed, but I was not surprised that he did that though, too. I was impressed, but I was like, yeah, that checks out. Ollie would get results like that. But okay. for whoever's listening, the best thing about F2 as well is when you see the driver come up to F1 because then like you have their lore and you saw all the history of like what happened and it makes you root for them even harder. So yeah, that is another benefit to F2. That was it literally made my weekend when he was like a driver. He was the only one I was watching. Yeah.
Love that. So speaking of drivers stepping up to F1, so you didn't watch Liam Lawson in F2. That would have been too
Uh,
early, right? But you did see him step up into
yeah.
F1. So you still
Yes.
got that part, that half of the deal.
I
What
love
are
Liam
your
Lawson.
good? This is what we like to hear. What are your thoughts on him not getting a seat for this year?
I was really disappointed, honestly. Um, I I think that he clearly deserves it. He did really well. He was even driving like pretty aggressively with Yuki when he was in the seat, which I thought was impressive since it's like I feel like if I were to be thrown in F1 seat, I would be kind of timid around, the teammates. It's like, oh, like, he knows the ropes. I'm just here. I'm just filling in. I'm just the sub, like, you know. But no, he was on it. I was really disappointed when he didn't get a seat. Yeah. Hopefully next year because if he doesn't ever end up getting one, I'm gonna be so upset. But
I
I
don't
hope
know
it's
what more he
inevitable.
could do. Like, I genuinely don't know what more he could do.
Yeah, yeah, because he's done. I listened to. I don't know who his podcast was with. I think maybe it was Beyond the Grid or something. And
Hmm.
he was listing off all of the things that he did and like all the series like in New Zealand and everything too. And I was like, oh my God, this dude's done like 10 or 11 series like minimum, and he still doesn't have a seat. I was like, that's just crazy. Yeah.
Is I am still fuming about it and watching the Drive to Survive episode about it from
Oh my,
this season only made me angrier.
I have to say, I was so glad in the episode when he was like, "Yeah, I'm pissed," because I really thought he was gonna have the PR like, "Oh well, like the time will come, whatever." But no, he was like, "Dude, I'm pissed." And that he's such a chill dude too. Like
Mhm.
I'm rooting for him all the way. Yeah.
Me too. And obviously there are a couple of American drivers in F2 as well. And then there's obviously Logan Sargent in F1. There's Haas have been through a lot in the past few months, it feels like, but Haas are always going through a lot. Then there's the whole Andretti situation with them not being let in, basically.
Crazy.
What are your thoughts on kind of, as an American fan, what are your thoughts on American representation in F1?
Well, that was really disappointing, the Andretti thing. I don't know all the significance of Andretti. Like, I got into the sport last year. I don't know everything about them, especially because they're not are they within any Formula series? I don't think they are, right?
They're
Andretti.
in Formula E and IndyCar as well, but they're
Okay.
not in like any of the Formula One
Like
ladder.
F1, F2, yeah.
Yeah.
But I do know like that they are an established like, like racing, like they do well and that they have like a history. And the thing that was crazy to me was just the reason why they weren't let in, which was that they said like they didn't believe it to be competitive. And I was like, that is really subjective, like competitiveness, but whatever. Um, as of I mean, I guess I just don't really think much about American representation in F1 just because I know it's a European sport. So that topic isn't like always on my mind. But I mean, I feel like we have a driver. There's a couple American drivers in F2 as well. We have 3 races in, America, which people love to complain about as well. But I don't know. I'm I'm pretty okay with the American representation, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like it's been kind of a big talking point over
Mhm.
in like the UK and Europe with F1 are obviously really trying to make it more of a thing in America with the 3 races. Uh,
Mhm.
obviously not too keen to have an American team in, otherwise they would have taken up Andretti. I mean, I don't understand how they can say Andretti won't be competitive. Andretti
Yeah.
are the current reigning Formula E champions, and
Yeah.
they're always a top team in IndyCar. So it's like,
The thing is too is it's like I don't know, it's just an interesting like requirement for a team that's about to come in. Like how can you know what I mean? Like why are you putting that expectation on someone who hasn't ever raced in F1 and saying that they won't like if you're sure that they won't be like how are you sure that they might be competitive? Like you don't know, you know? How can you say that they won't be? they're not in F1, so we wouldn't know. Like what? But
Exactly. And there are plenty of teams on the grid who aren't competitive right now. There's always going to
ex-
be teams that aren't
exactly.
competitive.
Are they gonna kick Alpine out? No. Like so based on competitiveness, like, you know, I didn't really think that that reason was a very good reason. It probably is just because they don't want an 11th team and they don't want to split up the prize money and stuff, which if then just say that, you know? Like that's a way better reason. But the competitiveness, when it's something like that's kind of relative, is I'm like, that's not a very good thing to say. And then of course it got blown out of the water with the Lewis Hamilton thing. So yeah.
I feel like if a new team came in, personally, I would want them to have two rookies on their lineup. If you were to like say if you owned Andretti or you owned your own team and you were in F1 right now, which two drivers who've never driven, well, it can be someone like Behrman or Lawson who've driven like a few races, but they've never done a full season. Which two drivers
Oh,
would you pick?
crap. Okay, I know for sure one Lawson, Liam Lawson for sure. Oh God, rookie wise though, oh, I don't know. I have to think of, oh, I don't know. Yeah, I know for sure Liam, but that's easy to say too because he really proved his worth last season. This is like tearing me up.
There's too many. That's the thing. There's too many to pick from.
Any,
Even in F2, I feel like there could be drivers who haven't shown their full potential yet in
exactly.
F2. By the
Mhm.
end of the year, it would be like, well, obviously I'd pick him, but
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'll have to keep that second seat open.
yep,
I'd keep it open until the end of the F2 championship, and then I'd be like, all
yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah. Let silly season run its course a little bit first. We're only in March.
Mhm. Yeah.
Speaking of kind of the fact that F2 can change a lot by the end of the year,
Mhm.
who even like doesn't even matter about these past couple of rounds, but who do you think will have a good season in F2 overall? Kind of like maybe two or three drivers, even if they haven't quite got there yet.
Ooh. Well, I feel like Gabby Bortoleto will do well. That whole team, I feel like for some reason they were kind of like on it immediately out of nowhere. I do think Prema's gonna do better. Like I see people kind of jumping the gun, being like, Prema's washed this year, y'all. They got it wrong, and I'm like, in my eyes, Prema's kind of like the Red Bull of F2. Like I feel like they got it. So that team definitely. Oh, who else? I'm trying to think of the other team. Oh, Victor Martins. I think he'll do good. But he was rookie of the year last year, so again, it's like, yeah, it's like, well, of course. I think Paul Aaron will do good too. Yeah.
He surprised me so far, I'll be honest. I thought, obviously, because he's a rookie, I thought he'd take longer to get used to things. Also, high tech are kind of a bit hit or miss. I'll say
Yeah.
that. It's a nice way to say it. But
Okay.
with high tech, I'm kind of like, are they going to give him a good car or not?
See, I'm still getting into understanding what the teams are with an F2. Like literally off the top of my head, I think I know ART, Prema, the one what you said, Pulse 8. It's like what's it? High
High
tech?
tech, we'll say, yeah, yeah.
Isn't it funny I knew Pulse 8 but not high tech? Um, and then like Invicta, I think. Is that I don't know how to
Which
pronounce
I
these.
still call it Virtuosi because it was Virtuosi last year, but you are
Oh,
right that it's Invicta.
yeah, I think those are literally like the only ones I can put on the top of my head right now. Oh wait, no. MP. And then there's VAR or something, right?
There we go. You
Okay.
nearly done
Okay.
them all. Nearly
I
done
got
them
a
all.
couple. I got a
Close
couple,
enough.
but
Close enough. So obviously, yeah, F2 predictions. With F1, obviously the prediction is max dominance. Like we're not stupid out here. But if you
yes.
were to make a bold prediction about a different team, a different driver, what would it be for this season?
Hmm. See, the thing is, you're asking these questions, it's supposed to be like lighthearted, and I'm like, wait, okay, I gotta really think and analyze what happened
I'm
last
putting
what
you
happened
on the spot.
season. I do feel okay. I think Aston Martin's still gonna do good. I think Lance was doing pretty good too these last couple races until he went into the wall, but he was doing pretty good. Um, I feel like Stake is gonna do better. Not like the best, but I think compared to like Alfa Romeo, I feel like they're gonna be better. That would probably be like kind of my my little prediction. As to better, not like dominating the series or anything, but I think they'll get a couple points. So also Haas was doing better too, but I don't know if I'm gonna hold on to that for now. Yeah.
With Haas, it's hard because they can be looking a lot better and then it can
And
suddenly
then
just
like,
go back.
yeah. Yes, exactly.
But yeah, no, that's kind of wraps it up very nicely. I feel like it's been a long time coming. I feel like you had to get your wisdom teeth out. It
Yes, I
happens.
did. I did. I had to get the chipmunk cheeks down before I could get on video, you know.
I haven't had mine out yet. Not sure if
Ooh,
my listeners listen to this for dentistry talk, but now they do. I haven't had mine out yet, but I know I need to get them out at some point. So I've just got that like impending doom.
oh my God, I was literally so scared before I had mine out. I had my dad call the office because I was like, I can't do it. I can't know it's coming. And it really was okay, it was not that bad. You can't think about the procedure before it's gonna happen. You just have to kind of be like, okay, it's gonna because you're gonna freak out once you get there anyway, so why even worry about it for the week? You know it's coming. So that's what I did, and I was like, wait, I'm actually pretty okay. So yeah,
So if you take anything away from this, listeners of the podcast, getting your wisdom teeth out isn't that bad.
it's not that
And
bad.
this is what you learn from Down to the Tire.
Exactly. This is the value that McLaren Defender provides.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
plus all the amazing predictions that I'm now really intrigued to see if they come true.
Yes. I'm gonna have to re-listen and think about and like listen back and be like, wait, what did I say? It's gonna be so embarrassing if like at the end of the season it's like stakes like zero. It's like I just like cursed every single person I just predicted and they
Yeah,
just do terrible.
yeah.
That yeah,
The
that
McLaren Defender curse.
McLaren the way I didn't mention McLaren like once either.
I know. I literally was just thinking that. I was like, we how have we gone the whole episode without speaking about McLaren?
Yeah. That's
Shout
funny.
out McLaren, I
Yes,
guess.
shout out McLaren. I do love McLaren. I don't even know, like, it was one of those things where your favorite team came to you and you were like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I vibe with this team. That was the McLaren thing.
That Gasly was mine. I didn't
Really?
really have a team, but now he's with Alpine. I couldn't care less.
Yeah. Oh,
Irrelevant.
mhm. Well, what was I gonna say? Oh, about Americans from earlier. I always forget Zach Brown's American. Literally every single day. And then I see him talk and I'm like, that is an American man. He literally is. But I'm like, dang, like he really made it. He made it over the sea. He did his, he achieved his goal.
He's
So I
thriving.
think that's funny. I always forget that he's American. I'm sure y'all don't, but
Anytime he speaks, it's pretty hard to forget he's American. So yeah.
yes. I can see how that would happen. But yeah. Hey, we mentioned McLaren.
There we
Oh,
go. We ticked
yes.
everything off the bucket list of Down
Right.
to the Fire.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you to everyone who listened. Make sure to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. So now do these in video format as well. Make sure to follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you like to listen on. Leave a 5-star review, please. And make sure to follow me on all social media at Down to the Tire. Thanks, ChatGPT, for coming up with the name. I'll see you
Woohoo.
next time.